710 KURV. Watch for AP video news on KURV.com. Powered by Texas Mutual Insurance and the Edinburgh Economic Development Office. I understand there's some tax breaks you should grab before they expire. Don't miss out on the dozen that are set to expire at the end of this year. Joining us on 710 KURV, 37 years as CPA and IRS expert, and Joe Mastriano joining us on 710 KURV. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great. They have been making some big changes. As a Texas resident for 35 years myself, I've been enjoying the sales tax deduction on my tax return, and that's expiring. So those of us, like Texans who don't have state income tax to deduct, get to deduct the sales tax instead. Make your major purchases or all your purchases by the end of the year and maximize that deduction, because next year it'll be gone.
How much of the sales tax can we deduct, Joe? Does it start at a certain threshold? Does it end at a certain threshold?
No. You have the total amount of sales tax that you take, that you've spent, or you take the table amounts and you add to the table amounts large purchases like houses, boats, cars.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's where it makes sense, right, Joe, when you make the bigger purchases, right?
Well, it makes sense if you spend a lot, too. I have a few clients that add up all the receipts, and they come up with more than the table amounts, because when you add up all your receipts, you include the big purchases, too. So you use whatever method is best, which is why you should go to a licensed professional CPA firm.
All right. Don't miss out on the dozen tax breaks that expire this year. What else you got, Joe?
If your house is being foreclosed on, the last few years the IRS let you take that forgiveness of debt and not put it in income. And now you have to include it in income. So what you should do is you call the bank or lender and you tell them to exclude the debt. And if they charge it to you as income, before the end of the year, the government will let you take it out and not pay taxes on it.
Okay.
If they do it next year, you'll pay taxes on it. Third one quickly is the credit for energy, qualified energy. Like I'm having windows put in to cut my utility bills. 10% of those thousands of dollars that you spend is an actual credit they give you, so it's cash back in your hand. But I'd like to say what's most important for people is the rules have changed. And if you focus just on these, in fact, you can get all of these posted on my blog at taxproblem.org, or just Google Killer IRS. But the rules have changed, and you don't want to be audited under any circumstances. And people that use my four-part method don't get audited. So I actually figured out a very legitimate way for people to not be audited, and any of my clients who have done this absolutely have not been audited.
Awesome. We're reminding you not to miss out on a dozen tax breaks that will be expiring in 2013. Joining us on 710 KURV, 37-year CPA and killer IRS expert, and yes, he has killer looks. It is CPA Joe Mastriano on 710 KURV.
Joe, Tim Sullivan here. Back to the sales tax deduction for a moment. That passed our state legislature, and this was new to me. I didn't know it was expiring. I didn't know that there was a deadline to this. I thought this was going to be a fairly ongoing thing.
Well, originally, but the IRS changes a lot. I would like to mention something else that's very critical for listeners, is that you've got to be crazy to trust the IRS has correct information on you. And people are getting audited left or right. The IRS loses returns, or they audit you and you don't even get the notice, and people think everything's okay, or they get letters from the IRS saying, hey, you're in a payment agreement, and most of them are not. And it's so critical now to know what they have on you to avoid being levied. I get calls all the time in my office of people. I mean, it's devastating for your employer to get a wage levy when you think everything is okay, or to get a bank levy and then all your checks start bouncing.
Will the IRS be giving, can we get information that you're giving us here? Can we get that information from the IRS?
Well, actually, no. There's unwritten rules that they have to avoid being collection action. They have to do with status codes and things you have to do. But fortunately, I have a free download on my website. It's a 74-page download, and I give you that information for free. So
Okay.
you can get it on my website.
What are
Let
the
me
tax
ask
rates?
you about, is it a good idea to clean out your closets and clothes drawers, pack up a bag, and hand it over to the Salvation Army and Goodwill for a tax deduction there at the end of the year? Can that make a big enough difference on your tax return?
It depends what you have. Most of that gets abused, and part of my program for not being audited is to use very small amounts, like 10 cents on a dollar. So you could clean out your closets and give away appliances, but you're going to be very limited to the amount of deductions you can take. Occasionally, some people, it's worth a few thousand. Most people, it's in the hundreds.
Hey, Joe, in order to find you online, give me the key search words on Google or Bing to find you.
Just Google Killer IRS, and my website will come up, or just taxproblems.org.
All right, Killer IRS, and you will find Joe Mastriano, 37-year CPA. He's a killer IRS expert joining us on 710 KURV.